So just a quick acknowledgement for the folks that are involved in the International Membership Committee. We're really honored to have a lot of chapter leaders, former presidents at the international level, as well as at the local level, who have a lot of experience to bring to bear on this. We've been meeting monthly for the last couple of years. I think that's probably one of the more aggressive schedules for committees. But recognizing the urgency in this work. And we are recruiting. So if you think of anybody in your area who would be a strong contributor on membership, we'd certainly love to hear about it. Focus of our work over the last while has been on membership analysis, looking at our trends and also member sentiments. And we have 3 calls to action that I want to discuss with you today. And a big part of our effort is now to kind of deepen the embracing of these calls to action, starting, I think, importantly with the RVPs and the ARVPs, and then moving them into chapter leadership. And we do have some new membership toolkit resources that we've been developing. These augment several that we issued last year at the land gathering as well. And I do want to remind folks of a bylaw amendment that was made that may be known by several or not around membership. This one was just shifting the authorities from the international board to the local level for membership recruitment. If there's someone who is a standout member who doesn't seem to meet the 10-year career experience, but may have a lot to bring to the table, and they are a great member candidate, that decision can be made at the chapter level. So just trying to create some more empowerment at the local level. Let's take a look at the trends in membership over the last few years. I looked at the last 5 years, and we have seen an overall decline of 16% in the last 5 years. And looking at our membership trends in the aggregate is very important, and you'll see why in the next few slides. Since last year, we did have a 4% reduction, and we've seen year-over-year net declines in 14 of our chapters. However, we have seen growth, and we've got growth right now year over year in 8 chapters. And of course, one new chapter, Florida Suncoast, has been chartered with 30 members. We do need to see some growth, and we're looking at setting a benchmark of 2,000 strong. So that's the broad LAI international membership at 2,000. That would require us to grow by about 15%. If we wanted to create some greater stretch goals and think about what we have seen in terms of our chapter membership over time, if we add the peaks of all of our chapter members together, we get a 33% gain. So those are things to bear in mind as we look ahead. Taking a look at the declines, as I mentioned, 16% since 2021. That's a net decline of 323 members across the board. But look at the puts and takes year over year, -5, -5, +1, -8, -4. That takes us to 16. On a year over year basis, sometimes those numbers seem fairly small or manageable, but when you look at the overall trend, it starts to add up. Here's our bright lights. Very happy to see incredible efforts going on in several chapters. We see New York reforming. We see Ottawa reforming. It had been fairly quiet for several years. San Diego, Vancouver, and of course Florida. Even the ZIA chapter's got some new members. So these are the bright lights in our portfolio right now. But it's retention that we really wanted to look at. And Robert did some great work. Thanks, Robert, in taking a look at both membership inductions and also losses year to year across our chapters. We've seen a 13% net decline in our membership over the last 8 years. Have a look at those numbers year over year, and you'll see that there are puts and takes, and they look fairly modest, but they do start to add up. One of the things about retention that I thought was incredible, and this to me is really instructive in terms of where we can put efforts. We inducted 1,928 new members in the 8-year period that we analyzed. 1,928 new members across an organization that doesn't even have that many members right now is a pretty phenomenal number. But when we looked at those new members and how long they were staying with the organization, we see that we have retention challenges. 1 in 8 of those had departed their membership in 1 year. So that's a real question about how are we onboarding people? What do we know about their interest in LAI when they join? And how are we keeping them engaged? We have about half of our members, new inductees, gone within the first 4 years of their membership. And about 1 in 4 of those remain active today. So broadly, we're looking at about a 25% retention of new inductees within their first 4 years or so. In 2023, 30% of our overall membership were in the 0 to 4 year category. So what that shows me is there's some risk in how long we may retain those members. When you look at our overall membership in 2014 at 2,400 members, and you consider that we have inducted 1,900 new members in the period of 2015 to 2023, and we're now today at a membership of 1,700, we see that we've lost 2,600 members who had been inducted but chose not to remain with the organization in that period. That's a pretty phenomenal number. So why? So we dug into why in the LAI membership survey a bit, and we asked a few questions. And one of them was clear. Are you supportive of increasing the membership in your local chapter? 94% said yes. So a lot of people feel strongly that their chapter has value and they want to grow it. But how many new initiates have each member sponsored? Taking a look at that number, 63% had sponsored 1 or 2. We didn't ask the question 0, and we really do wish we had, because that would have also been strongly indicative. We've got a small number of members who are working very hard around recruitment, but when 63% had taken very little effort to do that, it begs the question why. Engagement is another critical feature of retention. Have members ever served on their chapter committee or a chapter board? We were at nearly 60% who had not. Another real question for us is why. We think that with the 2,600 that we've lost over the last few years, had we been able to retain even half of those, our numbers would be in a much different position today. So a focus on recruitment and retention will definitely bring rewards. And we've identified 3 initiatives that we would like to promote across the organization very broadly. One is the Powers in the Podium. So empowering our leaders to have a voice around recruitment and retention and to use it. And looking at chapter growth and retention targets, I think working with each of the chapter executives to understand and to be to articulate growth and retention targets so that they're focused on those metrics is going to be a real strong element of our strategy. And the 1-for-1 campaign, to keep it incredibly simple, if each of our members understand that within each year, they're to look at bringing 1 new recruit into the fold, that would change our trajectories tremendously. It's 1-for-1, and making a 1-for-1 recruitment obligation a part of the new member pledge, I don't think is extraordinary. That's how we maintain the health of our organization. So looking a little more specifically at each of these calls to action, we'd like to have the leadership work with setting growth and retention targets and a strategy within their chapters. If they don't already, to establish a membership committee and distinguish those roles. Membership recruitment is quite a different exercise than membership retention, and being visible about those 2 pieces is really going to be helpful. Ensure each member is recruiting with the 1-for-1 promotion. And then ensure new members are engaged and sponsored. So that is around onboarding and who the nominators were and what the nominator's responsibility is to ensure that those members are engaged, are encouraged to come to chapter events, encouraged to participate within the chapter through committees or program development. We'd also like to work with chapters to recognize their membership progress. We don't really have an awards category right now around recruitment or retention, and we'd certainly like to develop one. And we'd like to strengthen prompt dues payment, engagement, and ensuring members understand the value add proposition and what services and programs are planned for both their chapter and at the international level at the time that we're seeking dues payment is going to be key. And we've got some resources to support that. I'm making a suggestion around how chapters can set their growth and retention targets. This is not meant to be a hammer, but a carrot. And by setting their chapter baselines and understanding what their peak chapter memberships were, and looking at what it means to add 15% across the board for their membership to get to LAI 2000 strong. And if we really want to help them with a stretch goal, setting a target for adding 30% of their members would be terrific. This is what that looks like in my chapter. We've got about 98 members today. We always had a goal in mind to keep our membership at around 100 when we hit our anniversary a few years ago. Our peak chapter membership was 110. To get to LAI 2000 strong, we actually need to grow by 15% or get ourselves to 113. And LAI or Vancouver chapter is actually on track to do that. We've got a very ambitious president right now. And if we really wanted to do the stretch, the peak membership goal for LAI would put us at around 130 members. I would love to see such a graph for each of the chapters. Now, there are different distinctions across the chapters, and we appreciate that. Some of them who are in the new growth stages or very small, they're really seeking to get to that 25 member category for a chartering. They want to get to probably 50, which we generally find is a very good basis for chapter health and provides a sufficient audience for the programming. And then, of course, beyond that, many chapters are larger and are providing programs as that reflect that size. Back to our one-to-one, we'd really like to ensure each member is recruiting. So we want to send out a challenge that each member recruit or nominate one new member each year. Making it a part of our member pledge, and maybe we have to revisit the member pledge. That wouldn't be a bad idea. And then have the nominating member continue to be a sponsor to that new member, fostering their engagement, ensuring they're encouraged to participate. We do have some new membership tools. These tools were derived out of outreach and communications that our team did with chapter presidents, with chapter admins, addressing membership questions over the last couple of years. We've prepared tools that I have available and that were circulated to you in advance of this meeting around member retention best practices, dues renewal best practices, and I'd like to put a special highlight on that right now because this is the time of year to actually be deploying those best practices as we look towards year end and the dues reminders that will be going out. And we've got an LAI member recognitions guide of strengthening our membership by ensuring that there's real joy spread around what the milestones or accomplishments may be for members, using our social media at the local level to the best and raising that media to the international level so that our peers do get reminders about the good quality company that they're keeping at LAI. So here are the next steps that we promoted at the Montreal event. We would like to meet with the Chapter Services Committee and the RVPs. So here we are. This is a great start. Really appreciate it. We'd like to work with you, to work with the chapters, to embed those calls to action within their chapter programming. And we'd like to work with the LAI Awards Committee to begin to establish recruitment and retention awards. I think those are more strongly at the local level, but potentially we could do some work on retention at the international level as well. And of course, we're always available to talk. For folks who may have membership suggestions or questions, and I believe that at Chapter Services, the RVPs and the ARVPs have their ears to the ground. You know what some of the issues are that our chapters are grappling with from a membership admin point of view. So definitely we'd love to keep that line of communication open. Folks can always reach out to us or to you or to their chapter president when they have discussion issues that they'd like to raise with us. So that is the end of my presentation. I'd love to take a minute to share with you. I'm just going to flash up the documents that we shared in the meeting agenda. Let me just go to those. Here we are. First one that came up. This is a one pager which gives some guidance, let's call it, some inspiration, shall we, around ways that new members and existing chapter members can be celebrated. Something like fun facts that folks can use to inspire their social media work. And my recommendation to a chapter would be that we have somebody on the membership who's actually focused on this. And what they do is keep their ear to the ground on what's happening with our members, both within LAI or outside recognitions or milestone achievements that they may reach that can be celebrated within the chapter. Gonna head over to this one. This is the critical piece for today. Oh, here it no dues renewal. I want to go to this one. Are you guys following me okay on the screen?
Yep.
Okay.
All good.
Perfect. Thank you. I can't see anyone, so thank you. On the duals renewal best practices, we do appreciate that there are challenges across the chapters around staying very current with member dues, dealing with late payments and arrears. I think some of the chapters and chapter admins were reaching out to us to have them actually get some help with scripting and with dealing with these conversations, some of which can be sensitive conversations, sure, but I think we have plenty to offer in terms of making the case for membership and having those conversations. So this sets out a clear process for invoicing and dues remittance. This one pager, we talk about what chapter readiness looks like, what leadership readiness looks like, setting out a schedule and ensuring that there is some transparency in who has paid and who has not paid. And what chapter reporting looks like, particularly when we're working back and forth with international. Mm-hmm. Here is a schedule that we recommend as best practice for each of the chapters to begin implementing their renewals process starting in September and moving towards the November announcements for their membership dues renewal, looking at tracking dues renewal through to year end, and then doing a follow-up on arrears. And then we go to October 1st, which has been identified as the time at which a member who is in arrears is designated as inactive. Now, that's the date that we want to avoid, but certainly some chapters have more or less rigor in how they address inactive classifications. And there are attachments to this resource. There's a sample renewal letter that can be customized for each chapter, and also information on pulling up chapter reports, which has been made tremendously easy at the international level. But of course, with changeover and continuity, that's constant reinforcement as to how to do that. The sample renewal letter I will look at with you just briefly. It sets out it's time to renew your membership. It identifies a place to capture what good things have happened in the chapter over the past year, what good things are planned, what things are planned, and what resources are available to members at the international level, and then a way, easy guidance for how to pay membership for those members, most of whom pay through the international website program. Those are the three resources I wanted to share with you today. And in addition to that, we made a member onboarding best practices and member recruitment best practices last year that are also in the toolkit, and they are posted on the website. I'm going to stop sharing now and looking forward to some discussion.